Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, this is not Ringling Brothers Bonner and Bailey Circus. This is your boy. And his best matches of 2022. Now, this is just my point of view, and I'm going to tell you this. You're going to look at the matches that you see here, and you're going to say, dude, they're kind of skewed to only two shows. Yeah, pretty much. It doesn't mean it's 100% bad. Well, 3 shows, actually. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you like it, it's what you get. I'm going to tell you for the men. First match is one that I really wish could have led to something better. This is Chris Sabin versus Alex Shelley, the number 1 contendership spot that happened right around the time or a little bit after Slammiversary. So this was for the number 1 contender spot. That would have been for that time. Now, I will tell you this. Was that the best match I've ever seen Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin do? Well, yeah, it is, because I've never seen them actually go up against one another. Never. I still say that Alex Shelley should have been given the option to become champion when he went up against Josh Alexander. That was the best time during that time when he was about to go up against Josh. That's what I believe. He should have had that shot, but they didn't go there. So when he had this match with Sabin that was going to lead him into matching Josh Alexander, I'm going like, dude, if you really want to do something different, if you really want to give Impact something a little bit new, yeah, covering a little bit the old time that might give a little more interest, give it to Alex Shelley. Now, I'm not saying that he would have brought in the ratings, but it would have been different for the fans that are still watching. To see that someone who never had a shot at the main title, yes, X-Division, yes, but never had a main shot other than the other guy who was with him, Chris Sabin, who did have a shot, who did win, I think, 2013. Why not let Alex have the shot and then win it? It would have been a very interesting rise. And we got one hell of a match between the two. I legitimately loved that match. It was well done, and you could see that Alex Shelley went and descended slowly from being fair to his tag team partner, he known for years that is his friend, to going to the point where, you know what, fuck you, I am going to do whatever I can to win. And in the end, Alex did win. But as you already know, he didn't beat a Josh Alexander, which I think they made a mistake with. But still, one of the best matches Impact had, at least at that point. Now, the next match that I'm going to talk about is from the pay-per-view of ROH, Death Before Dishonor. I believe that was it. Yes, Death Before Dishonor. I'm trying to remember the actual pay-per-view that AEW put on, because it ain't ROH. That's AEW/ROH. And that was Claudio Castagnoli versus Jonathan Gretchen. At that time, he still held the ROH title and was defending it. He went to Impact Wrestling, he went to MLW, I believe he went to GCW. He traveled around with the title, and that's right after they went under and they basically shut down, and AEW had eventually picked him up. This was Claudio's first chance ever winning a world title from the original place he used to work at. He never won it, and this was his chance. And they made this interesting in AEW, made it important, especially when he came in, where everyone knew that Cesaro, who could have been a champion, multiple-time world champion, or WWE champion in WWE, should have years ago, but what was the most he had? Tag team winning, maybe a US run, and definitely had an IC run, at least more than once. But never was allowed to have the real championship. And many people believe that pound for pound, he was the best all-around wrestler they had, that could talk pretty well, that could tell a story, that he had the look, that people just wanted him to win, and they never went there. Vince never pulled the trigger. He never felt anything from him, even after being teamed up with Paul Heyman. So he goes and has a very great match with Jonathan. You got this, Claudio, and Jonathan like this. Jonathan's like Wolverine, a sawed-off runt that will pretty much destroy you. And In the end, he finally won it, and Gretchen, who basically didn't want to be dealing with this situation when it came to ROH/AEW, because he knew he wasn't going to do anything, left the company. He didn't sign. Well, he didn't left the company. He didn't sign with the company. But this was an amazing match. Now, the next match. This is Speedball Mike Bailey versus Josh Alexander. This just happened like 2 weeks ago. And this was part of the storyline of what happened with Bully Ray messing with Josh's wife. He had called Bully Ray out and said, look, Bully Ray, get your ass over here. I want to match with you. You get this right now. But here's the thing that you're going to love. You do this match now. You can win the title. I'm done. But if you lose, you still got your shot at Hard to Kill. You win both ways. I want you here. And as you heard during the 2 weeks ago, he didn't go for it. But Speedball was one to go with it. And they had nearly a 1 hour match. It was 59 minutes and about 59 minutes and 40 seconds, I believe, or 45 seconds left. What had been gone. And there was roughly about 15, 20 seconds left. And they had a damn great match. I'm not saying it was the greatest they've ever had. It was a classic, though. And this is what many people don't understand about Josh. Yes, he's not always a great talker. Yes, he's been overexposed as a champion, as a character. But can he wrestle? Yes, he can. Do you like his singlet? That's questionable. There were several people over the years that couldn't stand him, couldn't handle him. But whether you like him or not, he's a great pro wrestler. And he proved it there with Speedball, who in himself is a damn good pro wrestler. Even though he does do a lot of high flying where he doesn't always slow down to use psychology for the match. Because that's his major weakness. And when it comes to Josh, he does have that well done. But he does have a flaw that he thinks for his size, he's a lot more stronger than he is. And when it comes to people about his size or slightly heavier, you could see he does not have the strength to lift them. To do what he wants, to do certain moves, which he keeps doing. Particularly doing a suicide dive outside and hitting them in the back, which actually messed up Shirai's arm. And I do not agree with that move. I think now he's not doing it much anymore. After what happened to Muhammad Ali Shira getting hurt, he doesn't do it as much anymore. He learned a lesson that was stupid of him to keep doing that and trying to do a sideways press outside and throw the person down, and he hurt Shira's arm. Not saying that it was permanent, but it did hurt him. But it looks like at least he has learned that lesson. He's a very good all-around wrestler. But this is what I thought. Now, here's the last match for the men. And this is Minoru Suzuki versus Samoa Joe. And this was in April of this year. And this one was a freaking chop fest. It was so good that it wasn't about how fast Samoa Joe was or Suzuki was. It was not about who was stronger. It was about will. Will was the greatest thing there. And I loved it. I went crazy over it. It was that much fun. That it was not about how strong they both were. It was about how strong their wills were. And I could tell you this. I will give you this, that I put this as number one. Because you were going from 5 down to 1. This is number 1. It's questionable for everybody else. But for me personally, if you can find it on TV, on YouTube, you'll see it for yourself how hard chopping they were. And they just destroyed themselves. And I will tell you this. I did enjoy it. And it meant a lot to me. But I know not everyone's going to agree with it. But that's just me. Now, I have the women's. Now, I'm not going to lie about this. I only got 4 matches here instead of the 5 for the men. But I felt there were 4 matches that I truly did like quite a lot that meant something. Now, the first one, the pay-per-view from ROH that just passed. The first match for the women there was Mercedes Martinez versus when it comes to Final Battle, it wasn't a bad show. But having Mercedes Martinez and Athena go after the title, you would hope they would have such important women on AEW doing it instead of here in OH. Now, I'm sure not everyone's going to agree with this because there's going to be some that are going to say, dude, it wasn't that great of a match. But it was a profoundly important one. Athena, as far as I know, has never won a pretty much OH championship. I don't think she ever did. So this was important, particularly was in her hometown. Her family was in the crowd. But it was going like this as her music was playing, which was new music. And she was wearing a white jacket, which I think and hope she does that from now on. Black or white, doesn't matter. She should wear that instead of the wings. But it was a great match. Mercedes did a great job. So did Athena. And in the end, Athena did win that damn match. It gives Athena relevance. As I've always said, relevance for both male and female is key. It is important not just to hold a damn title, but to feel relevant with or without a title. Now, mind you, here's the problem. When it comes to ROH, it's still not its own entity. And yes, it's going to be what? Honor Club? That's what I believe they're calling it. Because I know just Alex talked about it. And he said if they included the pay-per-views, because I did watch his video on what he felt about ROH, and going on to a paid subscription, and that he was like, if they included the pay-per-views, I would go for it because it would be good value, but it's not because he's got to pay $50 separately. Tony decided, unless he changed his mind then, because he could still change his mind, and add it into the subscription model and maybe raise it by maybe $5. So every month, if there is a pay-per-view, you'll see it free. You just pay an extra $5 to see it. So instead of $10, it would be $15 on Honor Club. But the point is, he's not thinking of watching it because it's not going to be worth it. $10 a month just to see regular ROH TV, which doesn't really have a lot of people on it. And you got to pay an extra $40 or $50 extra just to watch the pay-per-view. He's not going there. So this is where the problem for me is when it comes to Athena. And it goes to ROH itself. ROH does not feel like it's going to be a real promotion. It's just not going to. And now you got just Alex saying it should have been put on YouTube, which I still believe it should have been, but he didn't want to do it. Now you're going to throw it onto some type of website, on some type of streaming service with $10 on it, and you're going to make people on top of the $10 pay an extra $40 or $50 on top of it monthly. No, I don't think anyone's going to go for it. It's not going to be a great sell. I just don't believe it. But I will say this, that Athena is important. She has relevancy, but now it's questionable where they're going to go with that relevancy because they're throwing ROH on Honor Club where you're going to pay $10 on top of that, another $40 or $50 every month. That's a lot of money when people are doing HBO Max. They're doing Disney Plus. They're doing Hulu. They're doing Netflix. And now Netflix is trying to cut back a little bit on their movies and also charge you more with more advertisement. People are not going to be happy to make choices like that. I'm just saying. The next match is from, guess what? NWA. NWA. And the match between Camille versus Maxine Paler. And that was NWA, I believe, 74. Yes, 74. It wasn't Hard Times 3. It was NWA 74. Because I believe, and I had to check just to make sure I was right. Because on Hard Times 3, they had that Fatal 4-Way. And I believe that was with Chelsea Green. It was with Kylie King. It was with, who was the third one? I don't think it was Taya Valkyrie along with Camille. I don't remember. I think Taya might have been there. But essentially speaking, this was the match for me. I didn't know how it was going to go. Camille has always overpowered every woman she's been with. Genocide has been one of the rare ones to do it. as well as Taya. But you got Maxine Paler, who was way bigger than her, more stronger than her, where she had to really struggle. And I believe that it was done very well. For NWA, they don't really do a lot of women's wrestling very well. Look, Empower, they're pretty Empower. You see, when it comes to that team, you see the Hex. But singles is not that great unless when you really factor in Camille, when you also factor in Natalia Makovic, which is also, they've had great matches, but not really great memorable matches. Even though I love me, Natalia. I'd be with Natalia. Yes, you could say, well, you're only doing it because she's like, whoop, whoop, bang. But she's actually able to talk. She wrestles damn good for her size. Yes, she has big tits, but she doesn't act like a big-tittied woman's wrestler. She tries to be as fast as possible and very hard-hitting. You can say a lot about Natalia, that she isn't always great in the ring, but you know that she's a hard-hitting wrestler that has a pretty decent character. That's what I would give with her. But when it came to this match, for the NWA to Burke, I will say it was a memorable match. That you had that dominant champion who's been champion for practically almost 2 years to someone like this in stature. Well, almost in stature. She's roughly about the same height, almost. A little bit higher, but a lot more bigger. And in the end, Camille did win. But I will say that I do remember that match. Last match. Now, I know this is very recent, but it was very memorable for me. And this is for the AEW Women's Championship, Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida. Yes, whatever happened afterward, we're not talking about that. When you saw this match, it was so freaking physical. By the time it was all over, you see Hikaru so flat out exhausted, she couldn't even move. And then you see Jamie Hayter, who literally, every time she got up, and this, you know, as when it comes to wrestling, you're supposed to sell it. You're supposed to really show that you are really into that match. That girl was tanked. She was legitimately tanked. When you see her, she was legitimately tanked. They were that physical with each other. Since this was her first title defense, Jamie decided, probably went to Hikaru and said, look, I want to make this really important. Let's really go a little more harder than we normally would go. And she said, how hard you want to go? He said, as hard as you normally would. Back in Shimmer and New Japan Pro Wrestling says, bet, but don't get upset when I tire you out. And she said, okay. And they were hammering each other so hard. They weren't holding anything back. There was almost a couple of hits that looks like one of them owed the other money. That's how rough it was. Now, I don't think everyone is going to agree with me with this, but I do believe as the number one match that I've seen so far that has been interesting, that's supposed to try and give relevance. And yes, due to the fact of outside interference, Jamie Hayter won. Yes, I know. It doesn't give her 100% relevance. It doesn't. And I would have liked, and I even said it in my review, it would have been better that you didn't have Britt there or Rebel. She could have done it by herself, and she should have done it by herself. It shouldn't have cost her to have Toni Storm come out and try and save her. And then you have Saraya coming out, not wearing a minimizing bra to keep those beautiful boobs that have been enhanced from going whoop, 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 as she ran to try and whoop someone's ass. Which I did say that I hope she does remember to wear a minimizer, because I'm not telling her that she doesn't have the right to show how beautiful she is and sexy. She actually looks way better than she did before. In the last 3 or 4 years, she looked like garbage. Now, she's so healthy. She looked like she did when she started her run back in 2012 when she was like 20, almost 20 years old. So it's a really good thing to see that she's healthy now. But if she wants to try and make sure she's not over-sexualized more than what people want her to be, because let's be honest, there's a lot of guys and girls who saw her jacking off Alberto Del Rio, coming on by herself, and then getting screwed by Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox. Those videos are out there. people have seen them. And she'll never be able to get rid of that. But at least try to minimize a little bit so she will not be bothered so much. Because, yeah, she probably doesn't give two fucks at this point. But for her own sanity, at least try to be as little more restrained. I'm just saying it because I don't want to see people bother her. I don't want to see people treat her bad. But you get my point. But that didn't need to happen. This match by itself between Jamie Hayter and Hida Kushida was so damn good that in the sense of how hard-hitting it was, that it was her first title defense and she was willing to go all out to prove that she earned it, even though they had to try and save her at the end, I felt deserves to be here. It doesn't mean everyone's going to agree with it. They're going to say something else entirely. But for me personally, this is what we get. And I really hope you enjoy this. My best matches of 2022 for both men and women. Please give me a comment below. This will probably be released next week. I'm filming it just after I did my gun report, which will go up today. I don't know if you're going to like it, but I hope you enjoy it. Peace.